Hello, and welcome to Insightful Conversations with your host, 3 Principles practitioner, Adey-Jones. Join her each week as she welcomes some of the world's leading 3 Principles teachers and practitioners who share how this understanding has dramatically improved the quality of their lives and the lives of those they work with.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so thrilled to have Diane Xuereb with me. Diane was born in Malta and now lives in the Netherlands. She is the host of a podcast called Permission to Be You, a podcast which intends to nudge, push, and inspire people to give themselves the permission to be exactly who they are. It was through surviving difficulties in her own life that Diane was inspired to want to help others find the freedom to express and embrace the power of being themselves. Diane, like me, has a wonderful fascination with storytelling. She's a woman after my own heart, and I know this is going to be a great conversation. Hi, Diane. So lovely to see you again. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me there.
Well, we had a fabulous conversation a few weeks ago now, quite a few weeks ago. But you were asking me all the questions, so I love that we get to do this in reverse.
Okay. Now.
Yeah. So I want to know a little bit about your journey and how you came across the principles. I would love to find that out first.
You want the long version or the short version?
Let's start with the short-ish version because we've only got 25 minutes. So I want to make sure we get to your podcast and what it is that attracts you to storytellers and all that too.
Okay, so I literally bumped into the principles in 2017. Somehow I bumped into Ankush Jain. And I had heard of Steve Chandler, and then I just was Googling and I got very curious and I went from one YouTube video to another. And then I stumbled upon George Bransky. And I decided to stop and listen. You know, we don't know why we do things, and I stopped. And he just said one simple thing that had me. He pointed me to the inside-out paradigm. And he used a very simple example, and that was, just imagine you're writing a to-do list. And you're looking at your to-do list, and it's long. And you're getting all stressed out about it. And you're thinking that everything on that list is making you stressed. And actually, it's the other way around. The things on the list can't give you stress. So you're thinking about the things that you have to do that are giving you stress. And I thought, oh my word, is it that simple? And I was smitten. I thought, this is it. I will never, ever look at any paradigm again. Never. I will not use any NLP strategies. I will not look at anything else but this. Wow. That's the short version.
That's the short version. Well, I love that. Now I'm going to dig a little deeper. So tell me about your life up until that point. What you obviously had been searching for a lot of different things. What led up to that search?
These are good questions, and I'm a storyteller, Del.
I know.
So I've been a searcher, I think. I've been a seeker all my life. And it started in my very early years when I was a teenager, when I was 13, when I discovered that I'm gay and that I was trying to de-gay myself. And then I traveled 10 years down the line, 10 years past, I was 23. I had an electric experience with a woman. And I went to a psychotherapist. Anyway, what was your question? See, I get lost. I'm such a storyteller, I get lost.
I love that about you. And the same with me. I love stories. So that's why I asked. So you were telling me, I was saying, what had propelled you onto this journey of trying to sort of, find solutions to things? What had got you here?
Yeah, thank you. So I started to try to fix myself. I started to de-game myself, try to de-game myself. Happily, I didn't manage. And I was also trying to fix my personality. I hadn't realized up until I bumped into the principles that I was striving to fix who I am. I was trying to adapt. I was trying to de-blunt myself, because I'm blunt. Some people call me blunt. Sometimes I experience myself as blunt, but I'm very direct, I'm very honest, I'm very quirky, I'm very funny, but I was trying to, wow, that was really
I would agree. I would agree with all of those descriptions completely.
But I was trying to remove what I thought was a really terrible character trait, being very honest, being very direct. Because in my mind, I was losing people. Up until I bumped into the principals and Nikki Bartley and Terry Broughton, and they were practically saying to me, stop it, be yourself. Let that quirk, let that personality trait filter people out. Mm-hmm. Let it draw your people towards you and the ones who don't resonate with you away. And that's when I stopped seeking. I mean, I think I am someone who questions. So I'm not seeking for the truth I was looking for. When I was 23, I had, I think, what I can term as an enlightening experience. And it happened just before a Jesuit priest threw me out of a Christian group. And just before our little meeting, it was a silent retreat. I sat outside in Malta. We venerate Our Lady. We really adore her. And I was sitting next to a statue of Our Lady in the gardens of St. Joseph. And all of a sudden, I was overcome by this sense of peace and joy. It was, no words can describe the experience that I felt. And I think it was what kept me going and did not encourage me to stay and to believe in something that I hadn't seen, to remain open. And I think that's when I really started to seek what it was. And then I met the principles and I knew. I didn't know quite, but now I do know what it was.
Yeah. God, that's so beautiful. And I'm so happy that you didn't change who you are, because there is something so magical about who you are and how you show up in the world. And I love what those people, Terry and whoever, pointed out, that it's a filter, when we're ourselves, it is a filter for who's not in alignment with us. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But, having been a people pleaser all my life and a chameleon, and who do you want me to be? I love that I was able to see that too, and just show up, being who we are. So that brings me to your podcast, which I absolutely love, and the permission to be you. Mm-hmm. So tell me how that came about.
You know what they say, teach what you need to learn most, something to those lines. Since before I started that podcast, and I guess a part of me still beats myself up when I go up to a person and just speak my mind, because that child in me is afraid of losing people. And I really had to work hard. No, I really had to find that place to make peace with this part of me, which I hated. It's like my father's. My father was very blunt. And I remember saying to myself, I never want to grow up and be like him. And now he's dead and I want to be like him. I love him very much. So in hindsight, one, I was inspired by Anke Herman. When I saw her dive in, do her podcast, and it seemed so easy, I thought, I have something to say. I shouldn't shy away from tech. Why not start a podcast? And all of a sudden, the term just came along. I don't remember who coined the term, or the permission to be you. And I thought, that's it. And I had been thinking about it for a long time because, can I swear? Can I be rude?
Yes, you can.
The bullshit talking in my head kept saying, no, you can't do this. Who the hell do you think you are? You're going to start a podcast. You're not an authority, blah, 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 bullshit. But when I took the decision, I think within 2-3 days, I produced my first podcast. And then I invited people to join me. And before I knew it, I had a waiting list of people wanting to be my guest. And that's the first part. And the other part is, you see, I really lose the plot. And why I started the podcast is because I needed to teach myself, to give myself permission to be who I am, to have a voice, to give that voice, to tell people, listen, you have every right to be quirky. You have every right to be messy. And I keep saying it in every podcast. I keep saying it and saying it and saying it, with the hope that people, it will land, because I believe with every fiber in my body that peace starts with the full embrace and acceptance of who we are.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's incredible what we do to ourselves and then in turn to others. So it's coming to peace with who we are in our totality. That's just, it's the first step. So you said to me that you've created some sort of movement. So I want you to talk a bit more about that.
The Permission to Be You movement?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I was presumptuous when I said that. I hope that it will become a movement. I hope that people will step up and say, and follow, and it becomes a tribe. It becomes something that, well, actually, I can hear it now in the circles. Permission to be you, permission. They keep saying it. They keep people saying it, because I've been saying it so much myself that it's catching on. So perhaps that might be the movement, but I have no idea of the shape or what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So the podcast is kind of the movement, but I can't really say, I don't even know what a movement looks like.
Oh, that's so funny. So, and what you're pointing to here is I just love this. And equally, Jackie Ford's Unashamedly Human. And that's why the principles were, so huge for me, because like you, all my life, I'd been on this sort of path to fix myself, or a spiritual path to become more spiritual, or all of this stuff about really rejecting our humanity and rejecting that quirky, weird ways that we all show up. And I just love that in the principles, it's about embracing all of that, and having a very light relationship with it, rather than this serious, heavy, these are things to be sort of overcome and fixed. So tell me more about the ways in which this understanding impacted you, and how you sort of really changed, but not changed because you were trying to change yourself, but the change that happened within how you showed up in life from just embracing exactly who you were?
Well, I think I'm an extrovert, but I'm also a loner, and I tend to hide. But one example that's coming to me right now is my relationship with my neighbors, and perhaps my relationship with my colleagues up to a year ago. I was angry with myself for being who I am. And when you go out in the world feeling angry at yourself, you're going to look, I looked at people, I don't know if you, if anyone, everyone does that, because I have this habit of using you. We have this tendency of looking at people through our own eyes, thinking that that's how they're looking at us. So I was wondering how people were perceiving me. And I was thinking, well, they're not going to like me anyway, so I might as well be angry. And then suddenly I realized that I don't have to be angry at myself. And therefore I wasn't. My stance, I didn't assume that people disliked me. I didn't assume that people were out to get me. My assumptions kind of stopped. I still have the tendency of assuming it when I'm beating myself up. But when I'm embracing my quirkiness, I'm embracing me in all my totality, and my humanity, then I'm kinder to me. And as a result, I'm kinder to others. And my relationship started to change. I started to let go of the people who were assuming the same attitude towards me, in the sense that I didn't need anyone scolding me anymore. I did enough of it myself. I didn't need anyone kind of judging me, even though we do it innocently. So I started to drop these people. And as a result, I started to attract those people that like me, and therefore I like them. I think that's the biggest thing that happened to me. I think the biggest thing that happened to me is that I realize that I don't need fixing. I realize that who I am is perfectly imperfect. And then I suppose it has a ripple. It starts to spill over into other areas of your life. I don't know how that happens, but all of a sudden now my business is taking over. I'm getting invited to conversations. I'm creating clients. I'm getting on with my colleagues at work. For the first time that I've been here, I have a colleague at work who we call each other. I never had it before. So, and I always used to say to myself, you're such a kind woman, and yet most of the times you are alone. And I was alone because I was really unkind to myself.
Mm. As you're speaking, I'm just thinking it really is. It's such a miracle that when we, it's like we spend all these years searching and looking and trying to change ourselves, and nothing changes because it's the same message. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. And then the second we reach that point of realizing we don't need to be fixed and we relax, then we transform. It's so ironic.
Yes, that's really, yes. And I was given a trophy for being someone who's really introspective and could analyze. When I was 23 and I went to the counseling psychologist to try to de-gay myself, I was very introspective. I was looking at what my father could have done, what my mother could have done for me to become gay, and all the anger, and all, it was nothing of that, but I was doing it anyway. I remember my therapist, bless her, she's really good. Thank God I met her, because she really helps me. But at the same time, she said, "You're such a good analyzer. You do this so well." So I kept it on. I kept searching and searching and searching and searching and analyzing. Oh my God, there was no end to it. Yeah, the principles, I think, just, oh my God, yeah.
I love that. You took it as a compliment, so you just kept giving her more and more and more analysis.
Yes. Yes, I was a good client, so I lived up to being a good client.
Yeah, that's so funny. So, I love, what I love when we talked. I think sometimes, as much as we both adore the principles and things, I think sometimes it can be misunderstood, a bit dismissive of story. And both you and I love story. I'm intrigued. I always want to know, people's history, people's life story, and for me, it helps me see how long some of the thinking has been around. You know what I mean? Because it's rather than just be like, well, it's all just thought, so let's just start here. It's like, no, I want to know your story. I want to know who you've been all your life. So how do you find it? Because you're a storyteller, like you say, you have people on your show that tell stories. So what is it about stories that attract you?
The first word that came to my mind is parenthood. After that, Once Upon a Time. And these are television shows, okay? One is on Netflix, and the other one you can't find on Netflix. A story has a unique way of conveying a message, because we identify with the personality, or with the story, or with the experience. So when we try to convey a message, when we want to have some sort of impact, in my world, the best way to be impactful is to tell a story. People love stories. People are storytellers, and they like listening to stories. We all have stories. And stories have metaphors, they have sad endings, they have good endings. But even the ones with sad endings, I think they're the best, because they're our teachers. So I like telling stories, because when we talk about abstract stuff, we tend, if someone is visual, someone resonates with a story, then we'll lose them. But if we're telling a story, then we've got their attention. And there might be something we say that the listener hears that says, "Oh, gee, that's me. I can stop doing that. I don't have to beat myself up anymore. I can be blunt, I can be quirky, I can be whatever." That's why I like stories. They are very, very powerful.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you've just said there, because I feel exactly the same. I know for me, when I listen to it on a sort of intellectual or a sort of abstract conceptual way, it's just, I get, well, number one, I get bored. I just drift.
Yes.
I just drift off. It's like I'm trying to follow what they're saying, but it's like, share a personal experience, share your life with me, share a story of what you saw. And just like you say, that's when people have those aha moments of like, oh my God, I see how this works.
Yeah.
Or I can identify with you. I can identify how you showed up in life that way, and what you saw and what you see now. It's so much more tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm not sure if you're asking me to tell you a story. I don't have anything in mind at the moment except...
Well, you know what? If we had a whole hour, I would just absolutely tell you to tell me a story.
Okay, good. Then I'm saved by the time.
By the time, exactly. So another thing, I listened to your interview with Terry Broughton, and it was a great interview. I loved it. And there was a part in it when you talked about authenticity. You know, when people say, just be authentic, just be authentic. And you had an interesting observation on that, and I'd love you to share that with our listeners.
Well, it has become the buzzword, be authentic, be authentic, be authentic. And what does it mean? And I think that we tend to be leaning towards, I don't know, okay, this is my observation right now. Tomorrow morning it might change. To me, if an individual is doing the best that they can with the information that they have at hand, then they're being authentic. Even if they're wearing a mask, if they're unaware of it, then they're being authentic to the information that they have at hand. If I were to now try and hide my directness and my honesty, I would be authentic to what I now know. Before I try to mask it, I try to hide it, I try to be really nice. I try to not be that person. And I was being authentic to what I believed was bad. Now I know that it's not bad. It's just me, it's who I am. And it can be a superpower, but it can also be something that gets me into trouble if someone takes offense to my honesty. But when are we being authentic? How can we? Who is not being authentic? You know, to me, it's become too much of a buzzword. It's become too much. Oh, be authentic, show up, be authentic. Be true, show up. To me, show up. Show up as you are. I don't care if you're messy. I don't care if you're wearing a mask. If that's all you've got, give it to me. Fine. It's not your problem. It's mine if I can't deal with it.
I absolutely love that. That is so powerful, because I've always had a bit of an issue with this word too, about authentic. It's almost like you're being judged. Whereas I feel like, you know, that there's judged in the sense of, well, that's the real part of you, and this other part of you is not real. It's not authentic. And I think, but that's crazy. It's coming through me. And as you said, it's like it's the multifaceted, that's wwho we are as humans. We have all these different facets, all these different sides, all these different masks that show up in various situations. Yeah. And if that's what's showing up in the moment, yeah, that's authentic to you in that moment, knowing that it's going to change moment to moment, thought by thought.
Yes.
But this sorting out it's judge. I hear it as judgment. You know, this is the authentic you, and this is not. It's like, no, it's all us.
Yeah. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
I think that it's being used as a judgment, and I still judge. We're gonna judge. As soon as we're looking through these eyes, we're gonna judge. We're gonna have filters, and we need to, because otherwise we won't survive. But to add some more labels, we have enough. So perhaps I'm a bit of a rebel, you know. I am a rebel. So let's just show up. I don't know if that answers your question, or if I'm making any sense.
No, 100%. No, I'm just laughing because I'm thinking, I love the rebel in you. That's what makes me laugh. My inner rebel is admiring your inner rebel, or your
Mm.
outer rebel, I should say.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and yeah, this is what happened to me. I found freedom. It's freeing to allow yourself to be who you are. It's really freeing. You don't. It's exhausting trying to be someone else. It's exhausting trying to please everyone. We can't. Forget it.
Yeah. Well, I just we're going to have to come to an end here, but oh my goodness, I've just loved this conversation with you, and I love as I say, what you're pointing to, and that the freedom to be just whoever you are in whatever moment of the day, just with as much sort of self-acceptance, and in turn we show up that way in the world with ourselves, and that's how we treat others. So I just love that. So
Mm.
thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really wonderful talking to you again. And
Thank you for inviting me there. I really enjoyed it.
oh, it was wonderful. Thank you. And hope to see you in person soon when we're allowed out again.
Yeah, that time will come, hopefully.
Yes, very soon. Okay, well, thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you're interested in learning more about my coaching and mentoring packages, please reach out to me at Adey-Jones@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you.